Before we go, can I ask you, Emma, if you can let me know how you felt coming on this, what you might have expected, how that felt going through the lessons, and what you might have got coming out of that today? Any golden nuggets from it?
Um, yeah, I was a little, yeah, I suppose I was like, okay, I'm not quite sure what to expect. Um, but yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I think um, putting the emotions into the circle is really helpful to understand the up and down. It explains it more. It makes you more aware of it. That's the thing, I think. It makes you more aware of it. And I think that's really important. And actually, for children, I think that would be really good because they don't need to know like massive therapeutic jargon and they don't need to know deep therapeutic models, but they do need to know how to regulate and understand what they feel. And I think it would be really good, particularly actually for my daughter. I think she would really benefit from it. And I'm going to try it with her probably later on this week and see what she thinks of it, just to get her to. I mean, I did say to her, me and Kay are going to go through Kay's diagram, and she said that sounds really cool. I'd like to have a look. So, I think it will be really interesting that I will now be able to explain it to her, which will help her because she has the same kind of struggles as your son was having, although not as severe. I'm grateful to say, but there are things that need to be addressed, and I think it will really help her. So, yes, it was definitely worth doing. Definitely worth doing.
Oh, thank you, Emma. No, amazing. And yeah, like I say, this is the thing because it's so unique. It is difficult to explain to people what to expect when they come on these courses. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely something different than most people do. And I really appreciate that feedback from you because I've done this from a point of view of being a mum. Like my
Hmm.
son didn't come with a manual, so I ended up writing my own manual, kind of how I say it. And I have battled with my own conscience. Do I study counselling and therapy? And it was like, actually, no, because I didn't need to be that therapist to help my son in the end. I actually did it from the perspective of being a mum and finding this way. But at the same time, it means
Hmm.
a lot to me, a great deal for me to get from you, knowing the tremendous amount of qualifications that you do have and the therapy that you do and the clients that you help are phenomenal and that you can say that about my work today. So thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you, Emma.
Oh no, you're welcome. I honestly think, and I will just say, um, anybody who is bashing people who don't have therapy qualifications, I know there are some terrible people out there who shouldn't be doing this job, and I know it does need to be more tightly regulated from our point of view. But actually, you've never sold yourself as a therapist. You've sold yourself as an emotional awareness expert. You haven't said that you've got a qualification. You've sold it as I'm a parent helping my child, and this is a model that I've devised. And the merit in that model for me is actually quite profound when I see linking that to the models of therapy that I know about and actually looking at that model and thinking, okay, well, that explains this model of therapy in a way that people can relate to. There's an awful lot of merit in that. So if anybody is bashing people who don't, please don't.
You said something that actually hit right on with me. I have this book here, The Little
Hmm.
Big Coaching Models, and it is full of just literal nuggets of various coaching models in there.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, I keep coming on the title pages.
Yeah, I think it's
Like
a really good model, and it's
the Daniel Gold, and then like this, there's just lots and lots of different nuggets of different
yeah,
models in here. And
yeah,
you know what? Every single one of these is
hmm,
designed to solve an emotional problem.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm not replacing any of them.
No,
What
no, no, no,
this
no.
does is it underpins every one of them.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing, and I think it's all valuable, and I don't think that it's about what you've got, haven't got, where you trained, didn't train, what you did or didn't do. It's actually a lot of your model is about intuitive parenting.
Yeah.
is what it's about. It's about intuitive parenting, and actually, that's a skill in itself that a lot of people don't have. Not because I'm blaming them, but just because they're not aware. They're not aware of what they need to be an intuitive parent, so they don't have it. So actually, the kind of wealth of potential within your model is that you could take it into so many institutions to actually change the shape of parenting going forward. Do you need a qualification for that? No, you don't. Do you need a lot of intuition as a parent? Yes, you do, but you've got that, you've got that. So there's no reason for you to be doubting yourself or pondering whether you should have trained here, there, and everywhere, because you've got everything you need is there, you
Yeah.
know, and it underpins, like you say, every model of therapy.
Yeah.
It explains at that basic level there. Every model of therapy is built on that.
Yeah.
So you don't need anything else. And I am aware that people have been bashing you, and I'm furious about it. And I would just say, as a qualified therapist, please don't do that, because it actually says a lot more about you than it does about Kay, who actually is quite phenomenal. So I will leave it there.
I'm fine with that, and I'm aware that that's their lack of emotional awareness at that level. And
Well, yes,
again, I
but it's
understand
not
that
nice.
fully. Yeah. But yeah, but I don't doubt myself, but it's just, since 2016, 2017, right from the beginning, people say to me, what qualifications have you got? What are you going to take? And I was like, actually, do you know what? I'm not, because it kind of went against the whole concept of doing this in the first place. And so I've
Yeah,
kind of stuck my ground, and over time I have become confident with that. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
It is literally about being organic. And I think I honestly think, even with therapy, you can have all the qualifications in the world in therapy, but if you're not organic and you can't relate to people as a human being, you've wasted your time. You've just wasted your time. And there's no amount of qualifications that can teach that. That's something that you've got or you don't have.
mm,
You can't teach that at all. And I get the clients that I get because I can relate to them, not because of any qualification. They don't say to me, "Can I see your certificates?" They that nobody's ever said that. They
yeah, but
just
when you say
want,
you're a hypnotherapist, that kind of assumes that you've already got those certificates there. It's one of those things that kind of sits hand in hand. And as a trauma therapist, and the fact that you use the word therapist kind of says certificated. And so
mm,
that's where I've never used the word therapist, and I wouldn't. And I have, it's not to say I haven't, because I've done basic counselling years ago, but it was when my son was about 8 years old, and he's
yeah,
30 now. So I don't consider that relevant now, even though
no,
I've not really forgotten a lot of what I've learned. At the time, I actually felt doing even the basic counselling taught me more about myself than it did about supporting others, and actually more about supporting me.
hmm,
But over the years, I've done different leadership trainings, not like the full 4 month leadership like Rory's done various forms of leadership training through work. But the thing that counts for me is I did do the award in adult education and training. And I am qualified as an adult education trainer. And so to take that route for me not only empowers me that, yes, I
mm,
have the skills in the background, hopefully that's come across through my presentations today. I'm also trained as a public speaker, so I like to go out and do speeches as well. Um, and there was just so much that I've studied over the years as well.
mm.
But at the same time, the biggest thing for me was that lived experience. And do I wish I could go back and give my son his childhood again? Yes. But if he hears me say that, he said, Mum, why would you say that? He said, it's made me who I am.
Mm.
Actually, one of the things that I haven't even said yet, it was 2 years after I started this. We sat up here in town one day, and he literally put his arm around me and said, Mum, he said, thank you for never giving up on me.
Mm.
He said, I know I've been a pain in the ass. He said, but I now know why steel is forged in the fire. He said, the more you go through it, the tougher you get.
Mm.
And that was the day I really knew we were going to be okay. The day that I knew that he had finally understood enough of this. And it still took about 2 years of me mentoring him. But bearing in mind, I wasn't having somebody sit there and say, right, let's sit down on a 4-day intensive course and learn this. I'd had to develop it along the way. But he appreciated the fact that I had done that with him, that I'd worked on it with him, and that I'd spoken to him. Now, this is another one I just need to briefly mention before we go. The amount of people who say, oh, I haven't got time to do that. Now, I understand there are parents out there who will do anything to save their children from this level of depression and suicidal tendencies and whatever's going on, the way I had with my son. But I understand there are also parents out there who are very busy, got a working life, they've got a lot going on, and they've yet to build their own resilience enough to be able to take this forward, and would rather put their child into therapy than do this themselves. Now, at the moment, I understand that, but that leaves the child with a big pitfall who, again, got the stigma, doesn't want to go to the therapy. Very much like I said at the start with my son, got to that appointment and just said, oh, mum's making it all up, I don't need help. But what if we could get other people training this, doing it through the online courses, or other therapists who do it from a point of, okay, let's do this from a point of education if you don't want therapy. And do it from a point of, I'll teach you something rather than I will be your therapist. So it's about giving them that extra narrative to look at emotional health instead of mental health, to get them focused on the fact that they can learn to take control of their own emotions. And to me, that's where this is so important, that people like you will embrace this and take this forward and work with me to get this CPD approved. And I really appreciate your input so much today, Emma. Thank you. And your work is incredible. But together, we will change the world. We will.